Information about the world of running, inspiration to fuel passion and excellence, and ideas for making connections and finding community. You're listening to AtoZrunning. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the AtoZrunning podcast, where we help runners thrive. I'm Andi.
I am Zach.
And this week on the AtoZrunning podcast, we are bringing to you Olympic running results. This will be one of two episodes where we bring to you the inside scoop about the distance running events at the Tokyo Games.
And by inside scoop, she means our scoop, because we're not inside Tokyo in any special way.
That's true.
Because nobody is. But we do have some interesting takes on the distance results thus far, week one.
So make sure you follow and subscribe. You can go to our website to do so, as well as on the platform that you're listening to on YouTube, or maybe you're listening on Spotify. Wherever you listen to podcasts, we're probably there.
And while you're there, post comments and questions and anything else on your mind, because that's what's fun about these kinds of things, is when you do that, we interact with you. And then sometimes we do that and you interact with us, like this response to our question last week.
Yes. So we did an Olympic preview, and it was a lot of fun. We gave you the lowdown about what was going to happen at these Olympic Games, getting to know the athletes. So one of the things that we talked about was Sifan Hassan's triple that she is attempting here at the Tokyo Games.
Currently in progress.
Right, in progress. And we were wondering aloud if there was anyone to have ever done this triple. Now, Benjamin Murray, he's a resident, a specialist when it comes to track and field history.
One of three listeners on the show.
It's amazing, yeah. He knows a lot about track and field, and he sends us stuff all the time, and we appreciate it. So he dug deep into the history of track and field, and he let us know that there was not someone that he could find for the 15, the 5K, and the 10,000 triple, but there was a very impressive distance triple, in fact. So it was the 5K, 10K, and marathon done by who, Zach?
Whoa, by Emil Zatopek, the very first, as far as we know, to popularize the concept of the interval workout.
Oh, yeah. I remember
Emil
you talking about
Zatopek,
him.
whose most famous quote, he actually has lots of them. If you search Emil Zatopek running quotes, they're all over the place. But his most famous quote, in my opinion at least, is, "Why would I train to run slow when I don't race slow?" I'm paraphrasing, of course. That's not exactly what he said. But his whole point was, if I want to run fast in a race, I should train running fast, and thus interval workouts. Now, that leads us to wonder whether he did interval workouts every day and never ran slow. And of course, we don't actually have the answer to that question.
Well, he ran the marathon, so I'm guessing that he probably had some easy days too.
Correction, he won the marathon.
Yes.
Which is cool.
Not only did he run the marathon, which was his first ever marathon, according to Shawana White, who also joined the conversation with Benjamin Murray. We love when that happens. But he also won gold in the 5K and 10K. So the triple gold.
The triple gold in the longest possible triple, as it were.
The longest, yeah.
Which for the women this year in the Tokyo Olympics would not really be a possible triple, because the marathon is the same morning as the 10,000.
Right. Yep.
So wouldn't want to try that. But speaking of interactions with you all, we did want to address a question also that has come up. And so this is actually a question from one of our athletes, Laura, who has asked us about a vacation and what training should look like when she's on vacation. And in responding to her, we thought, this is that kind of question that probably many of us would be curious about. And so we thought we would just share with you here some of the conversation we had with Laura. And so naturally, she's gone for 5 days or so vacationing with the family. And, training doesn't always look the same when you're like in Florida for vacation kind of thing. So what is it that we can do with that? And in response to her, we shared 3 principles that tend to apply in all situations, in this order, in fact. So here's your priority principles. The first is, if you have to do something like a vacation that doesn't involve regular training, because some of you may be like Andi and I, where like our vacations are running vacations. We don't really take regular vacations. We just go places in order to run. But when you do vacation with your family and you don't always have lots of time, the most important thing to remember is that when you have to take those extra days off, to try to avoid multiple days off in a row. So like do the every other running thing or something like that. And this actually applies to training in general. But the reason why we want to avoid multiple days off in a row is because the longer the amount of time between runs, the harder it is to maintain or establish neuromuscular sense and rhythm and some of those things. So it's not really, we're not talking about like if you go on a 5-day vacation, you're going to lose all your fitness. That's not really the concern. But if I take 2 or 3 days off in a row, then I establish a longer period of time between runs and the neuromuscular dynamic has more ground to make up.
I want to get super practical with you too. So let's say that you tent camp and you're not running and you're doing other activities you're not used to and you're, sleeping on the ground perhaps, and you're not running. Well, imagine how stiff you're going to be if you don't run for more than 1 day in a row. It's not going to feel good. So this rest that you took doesn't even feel like a rest when you come home from vacation because your body feels like junk.
There's that too.
Yeah.
That is the truth. So in that sense, good to try to stagger the running that you are able to do if you're able to do it. And then the second principle is what's the priority for when I can actually get out there and do some running? In fact, it is in almost every instance volume. Just trying to put in some time. And so in that instance, it's better if I can only run 30 minutes every day, it would be better for me to find a way to run 90 minutes one day and take a day off the next day than to run 30 minutes 2 days in a row, because of the influence that has on my overall fitness then. So the first one is about a neuromuscular dynamic. The second principle here is about how do I do as much as possible to try to maintain my fitness. And the load is a key factor there.
I'm not sure if we've mentioned on the show, but one way to do this to get longer runs in is to sometimes meet your family where you will end up. So let's say you're going to a park that's, a handful of miles away. Maybe you run to the park while they're driving to the park. It saves just little bits of time here and there that you are missing with your family that are not as impactful to your family memories. So that's something that we often do, but I do recommend not getting lost.
Or in Andy's case, you can say something like, hey, let's meet you at this playground. You can run there, and here's the route you can take. And no one bothered to calculate how long the route was or whether Andy actually knew what the route was. We just said, oh, that sounds like a good route. Have a good run. And 3 hours later, Andy shows up 20 miles after and says, I didn't know where I was going and got lost.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah. It wasn't quite 3 hours, but I did
run
run 20 miles.
It was almost 3 hours.
I think 2 hours and 45 minutes or something. Yeah. So
Okay.
I do recommend planning your routes. It's another thing for vacation. I did not do that well. I did look it up, but I do recommend looking up routes and then seeing how the impact can be minimal as possible.
Principle number 3 then is when the volume or load is not an option. When principle number 2 is not possible, I can't do more than an hour or I can't take that much time away from my family, then the next step is quality matters then. For every moment I'm spending running, trying to have as high of a quality of a run as I can. So if I can't do 90-minute runs and I can only do 30-minute runs, then I'm looking for ways to do some a little bit more up-tempo stuff, some steady stuff, do a fartlek here and there, make it as much of a quality impact, because that at least will help with some of the neuromuscular things, that will at least help with injecting some harder effort into the system. That is not a sustainable approach to training, by the way, in general. But it is at least some mitigating factor when you're not able to do your normal training regimen. So principle number 1, don't take more than 1 day off in a row if possible. Number 2, focus on volume. Try to get in quality load at least every other day if you can. And principle number 3, if you can't get in a quality load, then focus on some higher effort things to try to mitigate that.
Thank you, Zach. Well, the winner of our Knock Around giveaway was Rick. Congratulations, Rick. He is a listener to the AtoZrunning podcast, and over on Instagram, we did this giveaway, so I'm happy when it's a listener that wins these things. And we are thrilled for him that he's also a new dad, so congrats, Rick.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Very good. So if you did not win and you're feeling a little sad about that, you don't need to be too sad, because we do have an exclusive AtoZrunning discount code that Knockaround generously gave us.
Oh, so good.
Oh, so AtoZKnocks 15 for 15% off.
That is AtoZKnocks 15.
Yes. And they're already great value. Like, the value of these glasses exceeds the amount that they cost to begin with. So you're already getting a great deal, but then to get an even better deal with some discount, It's a win.
That's actually, I'm not sure it's possible for the value to exceed the cost, because then they wouldn't make any money.
I know, but I'm talking about like when you go to look for quality glasses.
Yes,
you're
I know, I'm
surprised at
making
the
a joke.
price of these.
And
glasses.
here's the thing: 15% off basically means you're going to get them for free. So
it's not
take
for free.
full advantage. Go to knockaround. Whatever. Search up knockaround and then ATOZ Knox 15.
You
Get your 15% off. And with that, time to talk about the Olympics.
The running events have been underway in Tokyo, and it has lived up to the long anticipated expectation of viewers around the world, including us, extreme run nerds. There has been lots of drama when it comes to track and field, so we're going to get straight to the results.
Well, indeed. Speaking of interesting things happening, the men's 10,000 meter final, the first distance running final of the games, was interesting. So this is fascinating. Okay, you gotta be able to watch this. If you haven't watched it, find a way to watch this, because it's just really curious to watch this unfold. But a very interesting race strategy, one that we only see rarely, really only at the world championship level because of the nature of how this unfolds. But one that flopped, so it did not work.
No.
Okay, here's what happened. Stephen Kisa of Uganda. So Uganda, that should sound familiar. World record holder Joshua Cheptegei, as well as phenom 20-year-old Jacob Kiplimo. So these three, Kisa, Cheptegei, Kiplimo, representing Uganda in the 10,000 meter final, were countrymen. And Kisa took the race out from the gun, just hammered and went for it. And of course, immediately, everyone's thinking, what's this guy doing? Until you start to parse the strategy and realize very quickly what he was doing. So the nature of this strategy is actually a common one at the Olympic level or world championship level, especially in the 10,000 meter. And what it is you have the scapegoat of the team, the one who is not likely favored to compete as well as the others, and that one is going to fall on the sword. So Kisa took the race out in order to try to befuddle some of the other racers. And so what you notice right away is Uganda is in first, hammering, and then Cheptegei and Kiplimo are literally the last two in the very back. And that tells you immediately, why are they way back there when their countrymen's way up there? Because it was by design. All right, so here's the strategy. This is a very common one, and when it plays out, it's really compelling. But the strategy is the guy hammers and goes out, and his intent is to drag the field with him, because then what happens is you force people to kind of string it out, and it strings the race out a little bit more when it's a faster pace. And your guys that are the favorites sit at the back, and then you create an accordion effect. So what the guy at the front will do is he'll hammer hard for a bit, and then he'll ease off. And so everyone will kind of crunch back together, and then he'll hammer again, and they'll have to pick it all back up to catch him. But that's where the accordion takes into effect, because there's 20 guys there. By the time the accordion, the acceleration, gets back to Cheptegei and Kiplimo in the back, they're basically running about the same pace the whole time. They're only changing pace slightly to counter these kinds of things. And so it's a genius move, because you burn the legs of the guys in the front half of the race who are doing all the pace changing constantly while saving the legs of your teammates. Love it. Didn't work.
Unfortunately.
Because no one went with
No.
them. They called it. I tell you what, these savvy distance runners know the game.
They
it was
do.
so good. So in a situation like this, it's really hard to keep your cool. In an Olympic final, everything's on the line. It's a one race final. You've had no warm up, like no prelim or anything. It's hard to keep your cool, and everyone did. And you could see it. As soon as he goes out, there were a few who kind of started edging toward him and immediately noticed what was happening and stopped. And so then this whole pack of guys forms up way behind Kisa, and he's just running by himself. At one point, he was almost 100 meters ahead of the rest of the field.
Yeah.
And then, naturally, someone decides maybe this is actually a serious thing. So some pressure is applied, but it was a half-hearted move, and it was a kind of like, I guess really that's not the game. And so they eased back off, and they just waited. And after a while, they caught back up to him, and sure enough, Kisa dropped out of the race. Probably because he was really burning his legs hard to try to do that. And as a consequence, the race unfolded for the second half, much like a 10,000 meter championship race does. Interestingly, there was a point in the middle where everyone just like started hammering, like the race is on. and then about 1,000 meters of that, and then suddenly they stopped and they just eased right back off. So this is the way championship races go, is no one really wants to be the one to take the risk. So everyone's trying to race safe. Now, in the words of those trying to race safe, I think one of the ones who probably tactically made all the best decisions, all of them possible, was United States Grant Fisher.
Yeah, Grant.
Yes. And here's why. Because he was in about 6th, 7th, or 8th place the entire race. So when everyone else was shuffling around doing all their things, he just hung out and just kind of ebbed with the ebb and flowed with the flow and stayed in position. That's amazing. Tactical savvy right there from the young American himself. Now, that said, Grant Fisher did finish in 5th place. So he did not end up medaling. But he looked it and he had it. And he was in the race all the way to the line, just not quite.
Because guess where the race happened? It happened in the last 100 meters.
In the last, I mean, this was exactly what you don't want these things to be.
But that
which
is exactly what they're set up to be.
Yeah,
when they go out slow like that, that's the way it's going to be in the end. And they all know it. And they're all like thinking they've got the edge. So.
Yep. Well, so that was it, and here's your results. I mentioned Grant Fisher in 5th, but it was Salomon Barega of Ethiopia who took the Olympic crown from the Ugandans, because right behind Barega was Joshua Cheptegei, world record holder, and Jacob Kiplimo, the 20-year-old phenom from Uganda. And so the medals went to Cheptegei, and Kiplimo, and that was quite the race. It looks like Barega might have split a 53 or under final 400.
Oh, nasty.
Which, remember, that is what Grant Fisher and Woody Kincaid did at the U.S. trials.
And it doesn't make it any less nasty.
It doesn't. But Grant was there. He was in it. But in the last 100, they drew a little bit away from him. So we did have, by the way, Americans Woody Kincaid and Joe Klecker were in the race as well, as you know, and they finished in 15th and 16th place out of 22 or so guys.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Well. So this is going to be fun.
Okay.
I had put on Instagram, I was wondering if you guys thought that I should leave it as a surprise for Zach.
Oh, you actually asked other people?
I did. I asked other people, and, it was not unanimous. So hopefully I don't disappoint many of you.
Someone's disappointed.
By surprising Zach with these results.
So what Andy wants to do here, I was not able to watch the women's 5,000 and men's steeplechase finals, and I, to this moment, have not seen the results. And that was very hard because, as you know, if you have the internet, it's hard to not see something that you don't want to see.
Exactly.
And so in this instance, I just basically didn't do anything related to running stuff online today. I just avoided websites
and
that have running
you were
information.
working, so it's easy to do that.
Now, what I'm going to do first is the 5,000, the first one you're going to talk about.
Well, maybe we should probably do this men's steeplechase because that happened first. That was
all right. So,
Eastern Standard Time. That was just after 8 a.m. this morning.
And so I'm going to try to predict who the medalists were and tell you why I think that.
Okay,
and
go ahead.
Andy's going to tell us how wrong I am. So first, I think the gold medal in the men's steeplechase is going to, what's his last name? Lemaitre Girma of Ethiopia. And I think that simply because he seems to have all the momentum going into the race. And I think silver is Soufiane El Bakali of Morocco, because he's the kind of guy who always gets it done and definitely knows how to get silver medal. I'm not saying that negatively about him, but he can medal in these races, and so I think that he's a silver medalist. And then bronze, I was struggling with this. So part of me wanted to say Benjamin Keegan of Kenya actually for gold because of the chip on his shoulder, but then I was like, but he didn't have quite the momentum that some of these other guys did. So if I'm wrong about Keegan not getting gold, then he's definitely medaled somewhere else, is my thought. So bronze for Keegan.
Okay. So Zach did pretty well, as many of you know, because a lot of you know the results of this race. But, I want to set the stage just a little bit, Zach, and leave you a little bit in suspense because
Wait, what? You're supposed to reveal it now.
Well, it had been raining.
We're playing the game, How Wrong is Zach? You just got to say, how wrong is Zach?
He's not that wrong.
Okay, well,
he's not that wrong.
Do your reveal as you already want to do it. I don't want to interrupt your flow.
So the rain had just started to subside.
Oh, this is a story.
For the 400-meter, Zach, the hurdles, they had to do their runs, their preliminary runs in the rain, by the way.
I don't know what you mean.
Lots of falling.
Oh, the 400-meter hurdles.
Yes.
We're hurdling in the rain?
Yes.
Oh, that's bad.
So the rain had
so hard.
I know. The rain had just subsided. when the steeplechasers came on to the scene. So
Okay.
thankfully that was not a
But the
major
steeplechase
factor.
is already a water hazard.
It's already
event,
a
so
water
you're
hazard
gonna be
event.
wet anyway.
You're correct about that. But as you recall, our listeners that were listening last week on our preview, there was no
Concesless Capruto.
Capruto and no Evan Jager of the USA.
Yep.
So leaving the medal stand wide open. So that's why we're so excited about this event. So Lamechta Girma led for 1 mile until he was past, led from 1 mile, the first mile,
Yeah.
until the last water barrier.
Oh, he didn't win?
He didn't win.
Bummer.
So
is Keegan.
it was not.
Oh.
I'm surprised you're not getting this because during our previews, Zach,
I said Gennett Wale was going to do...
No.
No?
Nope. You said the very correct name on our preview of Soufiane El Bakali.
Yep.
And he is the one in the last, from the last water barrier, there was a clump of them. And he's the one who took it home.
Okay. All right. So El Bakali for the win.
This is the
gold
very
medal.
first gold medal for Morocco.
Yep.
In this event.
In the steeplechase. He's got other medals in it, but never gold. So that's
right.
something.
This is his first gold medal. And then Lamechta Girma.
Okay.
And then Benjamin Keegan.
I just flip-flopped 1 and 2. Okay.
And then Gennett Wale.
There he is. So Wale was he was definitely going to be in it. For sure was. So.
And he did lead for a little bit there too.
Yeah.
But it was before the 1 mile. But Lamechta Girma did the work. did all the work
and
from 1 mile
Soufiane El
until
Bakali. So look at that. Morocco and Ethiopia going 1-2 in an event that has been hard to dethrone the Kenyans.
Yeah.
And that's impressive work.
Yeah. Very good. So
Excellent.
You did a pretty good job with that one.
I did a great job. Wait, how did Bernard Keeter do?
Oh yeah,
US?
Bernard Keeter from the USA. I have his note here. I think I do anyway. I think he was 11th.
All right.
But I put it in my notes on Instagram, but I just don't have it here.
No worries. So he was, as we noted earlier, he was the only American to make the final, which was kind of a bummer. It was a tough thing for some of the Americans there, but great racing up front, it sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah. And like Zach had said, Soufiane Bakali, he won his first gold medal, but he was 4th at the Rio Olympics, 2nd at the 2017 London World Championships, and 3rd at the 2019 Doha World Championships.
Yep.
So it was about time that man was due for a gold medal.
By far the most decorated steeplechaser of that group in that race. And so now that he's got a gold,
and he looked really super strong.
That's incredible.
Really strong.
Good stuff. Okay, so
that was a little rough. I'm sorry.
Women's 5,000.
Women's 5,000 meter. I want to know who you think, because we have this.
All right.
The Helen Obiri, Gudaf Segei, and Sifan Hassan showdown.
Oh, so now I know that it was those 3 for the medals?
No, not necessarily.
Because you just said that?
No, because we had said last week
Except
on our
now you're trying to
episode.
backtrack because you're like, oh, I just gave away the medalists. Now, she said it in that order for a reason, so I'm going to use some reverse psychology because now I know who the medalists were. First, I know that Sifan Hassan won the gold medal.
How?
Because she ran that 1,500 earlier in the day, which accomplished 2 things. One, she was furious from the fall, which we'll talk about in a moment. She was furious from falling in the 1,500. And we know that for distance runners, that matters. That means something, that fury. But 2, her legs were heated up but not burned out from that. That was a great warm-up for the 5,000. So she was by far the most ready at the start of that race. So I'm calling Sifan Hassan for the gold.
You're right.
Of course. So, first out of 3, she's 1 down, 2 to go. All right. Nice work there. Let's see if she gets the triple gold. I'm very excited. Okay, so now I really was kind of debating in my head what would silver and bronze look like behind Sifan Hassan with such a stacked field. And so now, based off what Andy just said, I'm going to call it in reverse order because I did think that Gudaf Segei would take silver simply because she's clearly been moving in the upward direction. She's wanting to move into longer distances, but she's got the raw speed potential still from her miler days of just world dominance, which she still has. Maybe she'll continue doing that anyway. But so I'm calling Gudaf Segei for silver and Helen Obiri for bronze.
It was flopped there in the end.
Okay.
But it was pretty close there, Zach. Yeah, Helen Obiri was 2nd place, and then Gudaf Segei, and then Agnes Tirop was
Tirop
in fourth
Okay,
place.
good.
Yep. But the start line, it was really interesting because again, like it was all wet and like these ladies were frowning. Like it was kind of a bizarre thing. I looked at Sifan Hassan's face. She's frowning. She looks upset, like Zach said, kind of angry. Looked like a little bit annoyed. And Helen Obiri looked upset too. She had a frown on her face. I'm like, maybe they got in a fight before. No, they probably
What?
did. I'm just teasing.
Brawl in the back room.
But I have to say that Gudaf Sagay, I actually thought that maybe she would have won because she looked the most
Interesting.
relaxed and focused out of the three of them.
I think if she would have had the warm up that Sifan Hassan had in the morning, she very likely could have.
You think so?
Yep.
None of them did the work for this race, though.
No, so who did?
No, it was Japanese female Rika Hironaka.
Okay.
And no one wanted to be the pacemaker. So she took it out and she was actually smiling. She was super happy before the race. I don't know why I'm setting you guys up with their attitudes, but I really appreciate
Andy's an emoter, so she's always noticing the emotions.
Yeah. So she went out, she was smiling, she was happy. Anyway, even though she did not get a medal reward, she got her Japanese national record and of course a PR for her.
Excellent.
So even though she had to do the most work in this race, if you look at it on paper, it still had its extreme benefits. And of course, being Japanese in her home country, getting the national record, that was a major accomplishment for her.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So how did the Americans finish?
The Americans, Carissa Schweitzer in 14:55, she was at 11th, and Elise Cranny was 13th. And that was a season best for Cranny, 14:55. So they're right next to each other. They were within 0.1 seconds. Yeah.
So they were back in the field. And you didn't actually say the winning times, but I'm glancing at your paper here. That's quick. That is fast for a World Championship 5,000.
Yeah, 14:36 was Sifan Hassan's time. And last Olympics, when Vivian Chariot got the Olympic record of 14:26, she had beaten the previous record, which was 14:40 something. So before this Olympics, that would have been Sifan Hassan's time would have been the fastest time, if not for Vivian Chariot in the last Olympics.
That makes sense.
And I do want to remind everyone that Letesenbet Gidey, she was not present in this event in the 5,000, although she is the world record holder, but we will see her in the 10,000 meter run.
Yep, head-to-head against now gold medalist Sifan Hassan, and we'll see if she adds another one in the 1,500 to her stack. Very exciting stuff. So we mentioned that 1,500 prelim. Let's use this as the segue because that women's 1,500 meter preliminary, it was round one.
Round one.
And so they'll have a semifinal as well then, and just trying to find out who makes the final there. So we did have that drama, as mentioned. So Sifan Hassan fell late in the race, got up, clearly was pretty frustrated, way behind.
Yeah.
So she just booked it and crushed everyone and won the heat.
Yep. She was a little frazzled.
Yeah.
But she was not going to leave it to chance. She has golds to be won, apparently.
Yes. So she's running like someone who's got something to prove, which is always fascinating because she kind of proved it in the 2019 World Championships when she won the 1,500, 10,000 double. And she proved it when she broke the 10,000 meter world record and the mile world record outdoors. Like, what else does she have to prove? Well, she's proving it now. First of all, she's got a gold in the 5,000 now to add to the other events, But
I should mention that Faith Kipyegon did recently best her in a Diamond League event. And Faith Kipyegon, she won the preliminary heats in the fastest time. So Sifan Hassan, although the triple gold is a very real possibility, she's going to have to work really hard to beat Faith Kipyegon because she has bested her before.
That is the truth, and that makes for an even more interesting. So Sifan Hassan has some duels ahead of her against Faith Kipyegon in the 1,500 and against Letesenbet Gidey in the 10,000.
Yes.
Much excitement to come. Who else, Andy, is making the semifinal in the 1,500?
Yeah, Ellie Perrier, St. Perrier, Corey McGee, and Heather McLean. All three U.S. women will be at the semifinal in the 1,500 meter run. And of course, the women's steeplechase, all three women also are making it to the finals of that event as well. And now we can't forget that there's going to be a 1,500 meter men's run. The marathons, the women's 10,000 are all coming up too. But that's why we're going to give you a part 2 of the Olympic running results.
And just make sure you don't miss the 800 meter as well, because we
yeah.
do have I skipped past it earlier, so Andy didn't realize I had to scroll back up. Okay, so the men's 800 meter, so the Americans struggled a little bit. Clayton Murphy making it on to finals, which is great. He's had kind of like a fire and ice summer, and so we're glad to see him in the final, because once he can get into the final, we're confident that he can perform. None of the other Americans made it, however, in the men's 800 meter, and in part, who knows exactly what the result would have been, but tragically, Jewett fell in the final curve of
and
his
he was coming
semifinal.
on hot. Mm-hmm.
He was looking good. He was looking strong. Now, his race was heating up at that point, and so it was a tough group. But not only did he fall, he fell with Nigel Amos, who might have been the favorite for the gold medal, but both of them went down, and neither of them advanced.
The beautiful thing about this, though, was that the immediate reaction of Jewett was to reach his arm out and help Nigel Amos up. And I don't know about you, but like those gestures of sportsmanship are amazing, because it wasn't like he had time to think about it. He's still in the heat of the moment, like losing his dream, like falling on the ground, losing his dream. But he got back up. His first reaction is to extend his arm. What a guy.
Yeah.
That's the kind of person you want representing Team USA.
Yeah, in a moment like that, both of them probably felt that the other person was to blame for them falling. I mean, let's be honest. Both of them probably felt like the other person tripped them. And so in that moment, Isaiah Jewett reaches out his hand, Nigel Amos takes it, and then they go jogging side by side.
Put an arm around each other first.
Arms around each other, and finish the race. And it's like, okay, whatever else happened there, that was cool. That was really good. Mm-hmm. And then what about the women's 800?
Yes, so Raven Rogers and Athing-Mu did advance. Athing-Mu, I don't know why I always do that. Sorry.
Athing-Mu, Raven Rogers both looked great in their races. Raven Rogers had to work a bit, but she worked well and executed.
But Athing did not.
She didn't have to work at all. But I'm still wondering if she's ever had to work hard in an 800. I have yet to decide if she's actually. So we're going to see a world record or something in the final when she actually decides to run hard. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Clearly she's working hard.
Let it rip.
It's good.
Well, we are so excited to bring to you all of the races coming up, and we have so much more to share.
So much.
As you can see, we're really excited about sharing about track and field and results with you. We do a World of Running segment every single week. Of course, it's much shorter than this, but we like to keep you updated on the world of running because it means a lot to be a fan. It elevates the sport. It elevates our own sport, and there's so many reasons that engaging with the sport of running is something that can help the entire sport.
And before Andy gets teary, starting to get nostalgic about how awesome this time in the Olympics and being fans of the sport is, we also just know that there's so much energy when we can enjoy these things together. And so we have so appreciated many of you commenting on the stuff and, oh yeah, I saw this in the race, or this was really cool and exciting. Keep that stuff coming. Let's have the conversation about it too. And we'll certainly enjoy engaging with you there as well.
We look forward to talking to you next week.